Why do you want to develop yourself in something you will hate doing for the rest of your life? We're raised to look at our weaknesses. I've done 18,000 assessments in my career so far. We can all bring a certain value to this world. Imagine if every one of us wakes up every morning and go do something that they enjoy and they are talented at. If we truly want to understand our personality, there's the part that we ignore most. Is the talents and the potentials we inherit through our genetics. This is where your purpose is. We are the closest to our nature when we're born, and then again when we grow older, nature comes back and it knocks at your door and says, hello, I am here and I want to remind you of who you are. If we accept the trigger or the difference between somebody who is living a life of purpose and someone who is not, is one listened to the sound of nature, the other did not. These are the people who are stars at what they do. These are the people who are champions. That's the person who sits by the piano and just lives that moment, regardless of what people think about his playing. He's feeling happiness that you cannot understand.
If you're wasting your potential, endlessly working at something that's not your talent, today, it's going to change. So we have the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Antoine Eid, who's an expert in neuroscience and behavioral genetics, and who's going to teach you how to unlock your talents, your strengths, and your motivations to be able to genuinely live a successful life. He's also the founder of Meet Yourself, the world's first proven tool merging the three sciences, neuroscience, genetics, and psychology, to maximize your performance and potential. And so, Dr. Antoine, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to start off real quick with the rapid fire questions, true or false, about certain claims about genetics and neuroscience and all the rest. So claim number one, just a few lucky ones have talent.
False.
Claim number two, grades equal intelligence.
False.
Claim number three, you're only using 10% of your brain's potential.
That's another myth. False.
Claim number four, procrastination and laziness are in your genetics.
Partly true.
Claim number five, trauma is a strong motivator.
Also partly true.
Okay, so let's start with the first part, which is purpose, identifying your talent. And so there's a quote that I love that says, the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away.
Nice.
By Pablo Picasso. So to cover the first point, you said no, that just a few lucky ones have talent. Can we talk about what are your genetically innate talent and skills? How do you find them?
Well, the reason why this is a myth is because we all have talents. We are genetically predisposed towards something. However, to call it a talent, you need to discover it. You might be the greatest pianist in the world, but never played piano, so we don't know that you are. So talent is when your genetic predisposition meets meets learning. And if you happen to have the proper environment that can nurture this potential, it becomes a talent. Unfortunately, when we were younger, our parents did not have the right tools to discover our talents. So it was purely a trial and error thing. Your mother could be talking to her neighbor who has two kids going to a basketball course, and then decides to enroll you in that same basketball course, and now we have a new Michael Jordan. Right? If you lived somewhere else, maybe you would have never found out about your talent. So it was pure trial and error, and my parents used to put us in these different activities and then observe whether we enjoy them or not, until eventually we choose one and start enjoying it and practicing it. And if it's part of our genetic makeup, then we start acquiring more and more of that learning, which eventually leads to higher performance, and that we start calling that talent.
It's so interesting because a lot of people go through the trial and error and waste a lot of time when potentially there's ways to use science and neuroscience and genetics and all the rest to find it faster. Is it doable?
Good point, but also very critical, because We all have our own journeys in life.
Mm.
There isn't a journey that is exactly similar to another. And what makes life is not only your potential, it's not only what you were born with, but it's also your journey. Where you were born, your upbringing, your early years of learning, your first love, your first emotional pain, your first trauma, all of these life experiences lead us to where we are today. Trial and error is part of life. It's not going to, tomorrow is a trial and error also, and the day after tomorrow is also another trial and error. Because everything we're doing in life and we're trying is out of a small selection of available, obtainable things around us. We haven't tried everything and came up with the best solutions or best scenarios for us. But the more curious we are about life, the more we allow ourselves to experiment. And with experimentation comes the possibility of failure and the possibility of experiencing pain. If we embrace pain and failure as part of that process and experiment more and more, this is where life starts leading us by this trial and error to a more purposeful life.
So the pain has a purpose.
Of course. Pain is there to tell you something, to teach you something. You feel it when you knock your knee against the table. You feel the pain here, but actually it's in your brain. Your brain is telling you, be careful. Next time you walk by this table, change the course of action, change the behavior in order not to feel that pain again. And this exact same thing happens with emotional pain. After your breakup, you're going through these moments of misery, you're crying, you're lonely, all that pain, your brain is telling you, in order to grow, draw the right lessons from this experience and change the behavior next time in order to not be in that same pain again.
So not only physical pain is a warning, but also emotional pain can also do the same. It directly brings to mind doing something you don't love, because doing that also something makes you feel pain. You feel unmotivated, you feel stressed, you feel just drained. So what do you think about that?
First of all, let's accept that doing things that we don't always enjoy are part of life. We wake up, we brush our teeth every morning. It's not the most enjoyable experience, right? We wash our face. There's so many biological things that we do that are part of our lives. They're not always clean and fun.
Yeah.
But we accept them because this is how our body functions. And in life might have taken us to places where we do things as part of a bigger objective or a bigger mission, but parts of these are not as enjoyable. But together, they make life. They make our life.
What I find really interesting here is that this is kind of a journey of self-awareness, and going from my experience, it's a big journey of acceptance. That's what I realized.
Yes.
And growing up, I wanted to be a football player, and I trained crazy. I used to hate school, and I trained like a psychopath, obsessively. And so I came to the transformative point in my life where I asked myself, is that what I'm truly meant to do?
Football?
Yeah. I was feeling a lot of pain because I was not getting where I want to get. I read a book once that was called Born for This or something along these lines. And in the book, he said one point that changed everything for me. He said, it's okay to give up.
Mm-hmm.
For me, giving up was not a concept. For me, you shouldn't give up. All the motivational speakers said, no. At that point, a thought came to mind. I'm allowed to give up.
Yeah.
And so I did. And that led me to find more of my strengths and my talents. This is what happened with me. And when I started finding my talents and strengths.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. First of all, we've all been through a similar experience somehow, different scenario, but similar experience. Our purpose in life, they say your purpose in life is found later in life because it is subject to a series of experiences. And some of these experiences are the result of your own beliefs, the values, the cultural influence, the environmental influence, maybe the strong role model in your life, someone you might have seen on TV, a football star, could be your parents' influence, and so on. And belief is very powerful. It's a very powerful tool. It's a strong trigger towards discipline, towards resilience, towards repetition and practice. But that's something, and knowing what your true talent is something else. You might believe that something is my talent because you enjoy doing it, and for the force of practice, you will actually become good at it because we have the ability of learning anything we want in life. But sometimes not being able to exceed that performance or continue developing can lead to questioning whether, is this what I want to do? Is this the maximum I can achieve? Is there something else that I can... Don't be surprised. You're talking about your example with football. I get to meet thousands of executives, and it's very common. People are accomplished CEOs, entrepreneurs, and they still ask me the same question: and am I doing this thing that I'm supposed to be doing in life? So that's maybe part of being human. What differentiates us from other species is that the lion wakes up every morning, accepts I'm a lion, and I'm going to do this list of things every single day. It's the exact same list of things. The giraffe, same story. Humans have a more developed human or analytical brain that wants to make that continuous change to the givens we have in nature, to ourselves. So this is why that question is always there. Is this the end? Is this what I want to achieve? And if you dig deeper, some of the most accomplished people in the world, the most talented tennis players, basketball players, football players, businessmen, business people, might still be questioning what if I had done something else when I was younger? Would I have achieved a similar level of performance? So that's a good thing. This is a good thing to ask ourselves these questions, because this is what drives each one of us forward and more. What's not good is being trapped in a position of, I'm not good enough no matter what I do. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm never going to be good. This is what creates that internal toxicity that can cripple our behavior.
I can relate a lot to the feeling not good enough. And it's something that has been constant in my life, this feeling. Potentially from trauma, which we can get to after, or something else. I don't know. But then brings the question of, okay, so once you figure out you have weaknesses, but it's hard to accept your weaknesses, it's even harder to accept your strengths. So then we jump to part 2, which is prioritizing your strengths. And here there's a quote by Tim Ferriss that I love that says, "The superheroes you admire are walking flaws who've maximized 1 or 2 strengths." And so here comes the question, how do you find your strengths? How do you not fall into the Arab parents' dilemma of focusing more on the weakness rather than the strengths?
This is a nice question. Fuad, I have an issue with the word weakness.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. When you say someone is quiet, you're automatically saying they're not talkative. When you say someone is introverted, you're automatically saying they're not extrovert. When you say someone is blonde, you're automatically saying they're not a brunette,
Okay.
right? Every single trait in us has its opposite. What makes a trait or a behavior good or bad, weak or strong, is whether you put yourself in an environment that appreciates this trait. It's not the trait itself. It's not your personality that is weak or strong. The question is, have I allowed myself to put myself in situations, environment, and relationships where I am appreciated for what I have to offer? Because if not, then automatically we're looking into our weaknesses and trying to fix them because we want to become better in that environment. You're not just weaknesses. You don't have weaknesses, actually. You have things that do not match your environment, your chosen environment. They're not necessarily weaknesses. But how much effort are we putting into identifying our strengths and nurturing them and putting ourselves in relationships and environments that appreciate them? You're in a relationship, for example, or at work, in a job. You know someone, everybody in the company says, this guy is a loser. He's not going to make it in life. This person is fired. They leave. You hear about them a year later or 2 years later. They're doing amazing work somewhere else. We all know someone like this. So this person took what we called their weaknesses and their bad personality and their bad behavior. They took it somewhere else to a more convenient environment. And now they're flourishing. It means they were not bad. Whatever they possessed in terms of their personality is better appreciated in a different environment. And this is the question. Why do I always need to start from a place of lack, from a place of I'm not good enough, of weakness, and not from a place of what is it that I can bring to this world, what value is inside me, and how can I work on this and show it to the right environment? Does it make sense?
Yeah. From a neuroscience standpoint, how do you double down on a strength? How do you identify it? Because I had to go through my weaknesses and try to figure out, okay, why am I focusing here when I can focus here? So how do you do that based on neuroscience?
It's not a straightforward process because life offers a limitless number of possibilities and things we can develop and learn. But if we truly want to understand our personality, we need to look into the 3 different aspects of our personality. There's the part that we ignore most is the talents and the potentials we inherit through our genetics. When you look into your genetic motivators, you can understand where you are physically and from a behavioral, from a personality point of view, are more predisposed and could be more motivated. We accept this in music. We say he's musically talented. We accept this in athleticism. He's talented in this sport. But when it comes to personality, even though science, behavioral genetics have proven the very high level of genetic influence on our personality traits, we still don't take this into consideration as much as we should. So number 1, again, is how much do I know about my genetic potentials? 2, how much do I know about my thinking motivators? It's something that not many people know. But each one of us reaches a certain age after years of upbringing, life, and early experiences, usually between the age of 20 to 25. And our brains would have developed by then something called thinking preferences or thinking motivators. And these might stay with us for the rest of our lives. They usually stay constant during adulthood. And these define our inclinations, our thinking inclinations, where your brain is most motivated. I can give you an example. If I ask you about your 5 of your friends, to tell me one word about them, the most common words that people usually use are, "Oh, he's very smart. He's very social. He's very creative. He's very serious, organized." Those common words that we use, these are most likely linked to their thinking motivators.
You know why this is crazy? I was at the gym. There's 2 treadmills, and I usually do my stretching in the outdoor, right? And I'm doing my stretching, and my mom's talking to one of her friends, and she's saying, "I don't like how organized he is."
You see? We label people by their thinking preference usually, but these thinking motivators are very powerful at leading our desires or inclinations towards certain tasks in life. So let me repeat. There's the genetic part of our personality, there's the thinking, the brain part of our personality, and there's the acquired skills and behaviors. Everything we've learned. Right now, for you and I, this is a learning experience. And this is an ongoing process until we die. And this is the part that is more flexible or variable in our personality. It continues to grow. We focus a lot on it. I want to learn this. I want to develop that. I want to fix this. All of these are part of the behavioral aspect of our personality. And sometimes we neglect the other 2. Where am I most motivated? What are my talents? What are my genetic motivators? And do I live and grow in alignment with these motivators? Because this is where your purpose is. We are the closest to our nature when we're born, and then again when we grow older. Nature comes back and it knocks at your door and says, "Hello, I am here and I want to remind you of who you are."
I like this. I like this a lot. It directly comes to mind a good friend of mine who's called Maria Saab. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
I watched your episode with her this morning.
I love this. She talks she says to reconnect with who you are.
Yeah.
At your essence. And before the programming started, the limiting beliefs, the trauma, all of this, which do play a huge part, in my opinion, limiting your potential.
Absolutely.
So what do you think about that?
I totally agree with Maria and with the concept, but without providing the tool, it just remains an abstract concept, connecting with who you are. How do I do this? This is why I built what I've been working on over the last years, is to provide people with an actual tool that can help them learn and understand who they are by seeing data in front of them. So we do an actual DNA test, and through the DNA test, so we sequence the DNA, and we analyze the link between these genes and 54 different behaviors. We do also another neuroscience-based assessment that would identify the thinking motivators. And then the rest are things that we know and we can assess and that could be assessed about our learned skills and behaviors. So without going to that level of genetics, it would be much harder to understand your real innate motivators.
So what was your journey? How was the before and after for you?
There's no after. I'm still in the before. It's as I told you, it's always a learning, a long, continuous learning journey. But I can tell you one thing, and my life has started shifting to a more purposeful meaning the moment I decided to stop changing all the things in me that turned out to be my strength. I wish I had something visual to show you, but both all three of my tests, the genetic test, the neuroscience assessment, and the behavior assessment, all three show very high level intuitive predisposition and skills, which intuitive means high creativity and high social motivators. And these are the two that I spent most of my life trying to change in myself. I kept asking myself questions like, why am I so impulsive? Why am I shy? Why am I sensitive towards other people's behaviors? Why do I not give myself time to reflect and analyze and validate before making decisions? And I've been reading and courses and developing and growing into the areas that I felt were needed. And during that process, I was giving up on the parts of me that are the nice parts in me, that are me, which is the creative and the social person. And the moment I embraced this as who I am, and this is what I have to bring to the world, this is where my purpose is. This is where slowly I started building something using that creativity that can eventually help millions of people. You see, this is because your purpose and your nature are very much connected. We don't only say you find your purpose later in life because of all the series of learning and experiences, but also because your nature is going to remind you louder and louder later of who you are. People, as they get older, they start just not giving can we say anything on your podcast?
You could say whatever you want.
Not giving a damn about what people think and what society thinks. They just want to be themselves. They start dressing like they don't care. They start talking like they don't care. And you're becoming more you with age. And that's the same person you were when you were born. You were more you as well. Then we drifted away. We became what people and society and parents and everyone else wanted us to be. But then as we grow older, we feel that force pushing us. And if we accept the trigger or the difference between somebody who is living a life of purpose and someone who is not, is one listened to the sound of nature, the other did not.
That's so powerful because the fear of judgment is huge in a lot of people. And for me, there's sometimes fear of not being accepted, not being loved, not being good enough, coming back to the point.
Yeah.
And so it's a tough ask to say to someone who's his whole life did everything to please everyone else, which I was to some extent, to say to him, accept everything as you are. And you're good enough as you are.
Yeah. It's not easy. And this is very common because we are the most social being on this planet. We're social beings. We have a very developed social brain. And being validated by others is part of who we are. So there's nothing wrong with being accepted by parents, being accepted by peers, by society. It's part of being a human. This is not what goes wrong usually. We're born in families. We're not born in the forest alone.
Yeah.
Born in families for a reason. We have siblings. We learn competition. We learn how to compete with our siblings for the love of parents from very young age. So validation from others is part of our nature. But if this slowly does not turn into, I need to learn how to validate myself, we're stuck then in a vicious cycle of, I want to get validation from others. And we start attracting more and more toxic relationships because we're seeking that validation from the wrong people.
You need to validate yourself.
And you can only do this when you drop the idea of, I'm all weaknesses, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing right with me, and start learning, who am I really? What was I born with? What is my beauty? I've done 18,000 assessments in my career so far. I can't take one personality profile and say, this person doesn't have anything. There isn't any one of us that doesn't have anything, any beauty in them, any uniqueness in them. There's 8 billion people on this planet, and there's 8 billion different journeys. We can all bring a certain value to this world.
That's the first word that comes to mind is recomforting. Is that a word?
Yeah, reassuring.
Reassuring, yeah. I'm mixed French, and that's the first word that comes to mind. Because especially at school, and we talked about claim 2, grades equal intelligence, you're judged on this. Out of 20, this is how intelligent you are.
Yeah.
Your whole life, that's what you believed, and that's what you're taught to believe. And yesterday we were talking, me and you said, and I said, I wish the school system taught us since we were young what are our talents, our strengths, our motivators, so then we don't depend on just a grade on a subject. So
Absolutely.
What do you think about this statement?
It's quite accurate. There's part of this where assessment and schools serves a good purpose, which is measuring the level of learning. You need to understand whether learning has happened and whether you need to fix the situation to increase the learning. But given the system that most of us were raised in, it's also at the same time comparing you with other people and giving not only a value to your academic achievement, but to you as a person through this grade. I'll give you an example. My daughter came the other day and told me that she got the highest grade ever, 97.5 on her mathematics test. And I asked her, are you happy about this? Yeah, I'm happy. But I went to my tutor and I asked him, what was my mistake? And the tutor said, no, it was all correct. So she said, why then did I not take 100? He said, because there was this other boy in class who has the same answers, but his paper is much cleaner than yours. So I felt it wouldn't be fair to him giving both of you the same grade. And she asked him, does that mean that if he was sick and absent and did not take that test, that he would have gotten 100? And the tutor said, yes. Okay. So I'm imagining what she would have felt. And I had a conversation with her about this, how she felt. She felt on the unfairness. She felt she's being compared, and she felt that my greatest achievement in life so far wasn't good enough. So how do you think this is going to affect her motivation when she's studying again? It's definitely going to affect the motivation. If you feel that you're putting all this effort but you're not going to get fairly rewarded, you won't put the effort anymore. So your question was, do grades equal intelligence?
Yeah.
To answer this, we need to define what intelligence is.
Yeah.
If we're talking about grades, I think, are you referring to academic grades?
Yeah, in general, like math, French, English,
perfect.
All the
Because
rest.
the education system that most of us were raised in or educated in was made by academics to academics, or made by people with higher analytical abilities or IQ or abstract reasoning to people with the same abilities. And it somehow disregards the other intelligences, because there are several types of intelligence. There's the social intelligence, your ability to feel other people without a word being said. When somebody new enters the room, your ability to feel them. That's a type of intelligence. There's structural intelligence, the way you are able to bring a high-level idea into smaller pieces, smaller milestones, and turn it into and organize it into a plan and a project. There's also the analytical abilities, analytical skills, which is commonly referred to as our IQ. Or that's only one type of intelligence. What about all the other ones? Unfortunately, most of us were raised in this academic system that emphasizes these grades as a sign of intelligence. And if you look at the statistics, and everybody can see this on social media, and on that 1% of entrepreneurs or billionaires in the world were, or most of them were C grade students, not A grade students.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. And this says that to make it in life, you don't only need to be analytically smart. You also need to be socially smart. You also need to have certain values, certain resilience, certain different aspects of personality can make that or break that success.
That's also, let's say again, reassuring, because honestly, we've been brainwashed to some extent, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, to believe that intelligence is just one thing, that anything other than that is just you're playing games. Come back to what's important, right? So when I used to train football, my dad used to tell me, where are you wasting your time here? Just get grades all the time. And so I used to rebel and get really pissed and angry and sometimes do stuff that I'm not proud of and say things that I'm not proud of. But I realized that it was part of the journey. The whole learning journey was realizing and questioning also some of the assumptions.
Yes.
So how much do you think that questioning preset assumptions, especially in the Arab world, can create some breakthroughs in terms of self-awareness?
Two things I want to mention here. Einstein says the only thing interfering with my knowledge is my education. Sometimes our parents or our bosses at work, very lovingly, they're trying to show us or tell us what to do. And in most cases, they mean well. They mean that I've done this before, and this works. I think if you do it, it's safe. You're going to. And this approach might work. It might avoid some errors and some pains, but it will remove your options to try it and experiment. We as humans, our brains are not made to learn by telling. We learn by experimenting, by trying. So every time you tell your child, do this or don't do that, you're taking away their option of trying and failing and learning from their own behavior. And this is where the learning happens. And this learning stays with you for life. That's why later in businesses, and we adopt more of an experimental learning approach than a telling approach. We talk more about leadership than a directive management style. But that's the same concept. Is you're allowing people to try. You're giving them a healthy margin of error. That's the first part of the question. Two, am I with questioning the norm of how people need to be raised? And you said Arab. First of all, Arab is a very broad
Yeah.
because we have our different communities and we raise our children on average in different ways. Through this podcast, there's nothing we can say that can change a whole system.
Yeah.
Some systems are religiously driven, some are culturally driven, etc. But one thing is sure: most people who make it in life were the people who were allowed to be. The more rules and obstacles you put in front of someone, the more you slow down their progress. It's like road bumps, yeah, when you're driving. And the more you allow a person to be, yes, they're going fast and they might have an accident, but they're learning faster. We put too much energy in life to try to avoid the pain and control the outcome. And we try not to control the outcome. I know I like talking about this because the common patterns I've seen when it comes to controlling the outcome and avoiding pain is one of two things. Anxiety of being criticized for failing. One thing I've seen common in these people is they've been raised or they've been in contact with an influencing person in their life who criticized their performance. So now you have something to prove to this person. This is why failure to you is very calculated, right? You don't want to fail because someone is going to criticize me. So I have to make it, I have to succeed because my validation, regarded, the whole world might be congratulating you. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, well, my father isn't happy about my performance. He did not say congratulations. He did not applaud me. And that's normal. We cannot delete the influence of our parents on our personality.
Yeah.
They are the most influencing on our personality. And you can see adults go to coaching now, they go to therapy, they're accomplished business people, family people, etc. But they still go to resolve these childhood issues with their parents. It's normal to seek validation from the original source of validation. And I'm starting to lose my train of thoughts here.
So you were talking about how...
What was the original question?
I forgot.
You're getting too deep.
we were talking about how the validation of your parents and how this can cause kind of anxiety to kind of avoid failure. So going on the safe kind of...
Yes, I remember now. Thank you. You helped me. So questioning, not questioning could be coming from an insecurity of I'm too anxious to try something different. Let me conform, because with conformity comes security. And with security comes stagnation sometimes. Progress doesn't come from a place of security. You asked in the beginning, one of the questions, performance, success, change, innovation, they can be triggered by a place of insecurity, by a place of anxiety, by a place of strong desire to change, by a place of need. These are the things that change the world, that keep the world moving forward. I don't know if it's who talks about the inertia of success. The inertia is the point where you're not moving anymore. You know, the elastic band, when you throw it, it reaches a certain speed, and then it reaches speed 0, and then it starts falling down. There's this stagnation in security. and it breeds different motivators. So questioning the way we're raised is not a bad thing, but being realistic to be understanding. I love the word awareness, and I like using it in a different context, because I get the chance to meet a lot of people, and the common thing I find in most of them is, one, they've all been through things. We've all been through things. We just cope differently. Denial is the longest river in the world, right? A lot of us cope by denying. Let me suppress this. It never existed. I start saying, there's growth mindset, not growth mindset, power of the mind, and let me tell myself this. I will manifest it. No, you just be so. No, you will, but not if you're suppressing the reality of the situation, of what actually happened in your life. Awareness comes before manifestation. Let's understand what the problem is before we start resolving it. So bringing these triggers to awareness. Why do I behave in a certain way? Why am I insecure about this? Why do I want to control the outcome of something? Where is this coming from? Reflecting on these things can bring them to surface. And this can lead to the desired change.
Thank you for this.
You're welcome.
Because it relates to me. You talked, the claim number 3 was you're only using 10% of your brain's potential, which you said is a myth. What about it? Does it have what about it, this statement, do you think?
This is one of the oldest brain myths, 1901, 1903, I think. It's started, again, if my memory is not failing me, a Harvard professor in psychology, and just came up with this theory. And the theory survived for a whole decade. This is what we used to think, that we use as limited capacity. And then you hear things like, yeah, but Einstein uses 20% of his brain. And, today, for many years, for decades now, we know, because of advanced imagery technologies, we know that the brain is made of different circuitries, and some have different functions, but somehow it's a unit. It's a single unit, and it works. We use 100% of our brain, and our brains work at different frequency and different speed when we're sleeping also. So yes, it's not correct.
Are there some things that are not optimal are not the best for optimal brain functioning? So based on your 18,000 tests, what have you found that downgrades the kind of the focus, the kind of clarity and everything that promotes peak performance?
Good question. There's a long list. The things we hear by the majority are physical health affects mental health. Sleep, food, working, exercising, etc. So I wouldn't want to go through what most people know. I want to talk about something else that can influence that performance. Yeah. And I'm going to use an example.
Okay.
You told me you have a brother.
Yes.
What's the age difference?
4.
4 years.
Yes.
Perfect. Let's say you and your brother, one of you is musically talented. Let's say you. Is he listening? Let's say you are musically talented, and now your parents decided we want to buy a piano and start teaching them piano. So a tutor is coming to your house once a week. He's giving you a lesson,
Yeah.
both of you together, and he's leaving. And he told your mother, please make sure that they're practicing half an hour every day. So next day, your mother is saying, okay, guys, have you finished your studies? Start practicing. This is not a story is not happening right now. It was when you were younger. It's a joke. Because now your mother wouldn't tell you to go and practice piano because you're an adult.
The thing is, she still tells me still tells me exactly what to do.
She does.
It hasn't changed. That's why it wasn't.
We should keep this. We should keep this in the podcast.
Let's keep it. That's why I didn't laugh, because
Yeah. So I'm using the right example. So you have a talent for music, your
that was
brother.
so funny.
It was funny. I was waiting for you to laugh. And
I was waiting for the punchline.
Open the wounds. Sorry, man. I didn't mean it.
It was so funny, bro.
Let me change the example. Okay. Do you think people will be laughing when they see us?
Yeah,
laugh?
I think this will be a meme.
When your mother will not. If she's watching.
I think I can see the picture, and then up it's written, when your parents still control your actions.
Yeah. This is the highlight of the episode.
This is the trailer.
The learning lesson is leave your parents' house as soon as possible.
I'm trying my best.
Oh my God. Okay, let's go back to so a mother has two children. One is musically talented, the other one is not, and every day she's reminding them, go and do your piano practice. With time, you will notice that although both of them are putting the same amount of practice every day, after a while you see that the one with the music talent is starting to enjoy it a little bit more. And maybe the first time, after a few weeks, he's going to go by himself downstairs and start playing the piano without being told. Knowing what you are predisposed at is, you're not good at it yet because you haven't acquired the skills. But imagine if every one of us wakes up every morning and go do something that they enjoy and that they are talented at.
Yeah.
How this whole world will be different. Right?
Yeah.
Life is a journey towards trying to find that happiness, trying to find that fulfillment and that purpose. What if we can know this at an early age?
Yeah.
What would our parents do different if they know that we have certain predispositions? Our educators, our teachers. So I would say we have two choices in life. We either use our amazing ability to learn anything we want, but end up possibly doing something we don't enjoy, or find out what we would enjoy more and start developing those skills. These are the people who are stars at what they do. These are the people who are champions. These are the people who are talented. That's the person who sits by the piano and just lives that moment, regardless of what people think about his playing. He's feeling happiness that you cannot understand because of the talent.
To come back to your story, how you practiced piano when you were younger and how eventually you went, I don't know what happened. Can you tell us a story of how you came back to it?
I haven't practiced piano when I was younger.
Okay.
I practiced a bit of guitar, wasn't very good at it. Never had the discipline to practice. But I knew that I had a musical ear for a long time. And then when my daughter was 5, I took her to the music school. And I made her think that I am enrolled with her. So she used to go, I say hello to her teacher, and she would go to her room, to the room where she does the session, and I would go to another room right next to her. So she's thinking that I'm practicing with my teacher. But I was going to an empty room, and there was a piano there. It was like this a few times a week, and I was playing. And then a few months later, the tutor of my daughter came to me and said, do you know, are you studying piano somewhere? I said, no, I'm just listening to it, and I'm listening to myself play, and I understand how a piano functions. And until today, I can't read the notes, but I feel music so much. I was told I have pitch perfect, so you can play any keys on the piano, and without looking, I can tell you what are the keys. And if I'm in a concert and they make one mistake, I can hear it. I can hear that they played a different note. And now I compose these amazing things that I totally forget the next day when I'm playing something else. But sometimes I'm thinking, oh my God, this is like a full composition of something. I wake up the next day and I'm in a different mood, and I play something totally different. I forget the one before. So just imagine that this applies to other aspects of our personality. What if you are a creative person and don't know? Because all of your bright ideas were shut down when you were young. What if you are a leader and you don't know? What if you are a social person, but you behave in a shy, introverted way because you lack confidence? All these what ifs. But how much do we know about our talent? It's hidden. It's hidden inside. We're lucky to know the talents that were expressed, that came out. There's a lot of other talents that are hidden.
That's beautiful that you came back to it, and it fascinates me just how you're tuned to the music without having studied music, without having reading notes.
A lot of people have this, actually. I know a lot of people who are musically talented. Yeah, and they had something else in them, the discipline to acquire the skill and the learning in piano, and now they're amazing musicians. I didn't have that.
That relates directly to part 3, the last and final part, which is productivity, optimizing performance. So there's a quote that when I put it down, I was like, wow, this is powerful stuff. That says, genes load the gun. Lifestyle pulls the trigger. By Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. And so here claim number 4 and number 5 come in, which are procrastination and laziness are in your genetics. So what do you think about that? And relating to your example, if you want.
I answered that's partly true, because there is a genetic component in procrastination and more in laziness. But I spoke about thinking motivators in the beginning of the conversation. Our brains have 4 strong thinking attributes. Our imagination or our visionary thinking is one of them. Our social thinking is the other one. Our accomplisher thinking, or the executive part of our brain, the practical part, is third. And there's the reasoner part of our brain, the logical part of our brain.
Yeah.
Each one of these 4 is motivated differently and by different things. A visionary brain is motivated by change, by great ideas, by creation. Whereas an accomplisher brain is motivated by the beauty of bringing an idea and turning it into little pieces and bringing order out of chaos. So each one of these brains is naturally has a different level of efficiency. The more concrete or the more pragmatic our brains are, so the stronger your thinking motivator towards accomplisher thinking and reasoner thinking, the more you find yourself getting faster to a task. The left brain gets faster to a task. Right brain, where imagination and social thinking tend to procrastinate. But procrastination isn't necessarily a bad thing in this context. When your brain is procrastinating, it's actually waiting for the inspiration, because you're motivated by feeling. You're not motivated by data. You don't need to research, validate, see proof and evidence, put the little pieces of the resources and all of that together in order to understand what to do. You're looking for that great idea, or you're looking for inspiration from someone. And that usually comes either by art, either by dreams, or by having a conversation with someone else, and this would inspire you. So if you feel that you have this thinking motivator of being more intuitive, being more of a feeler than a thinker or a doer, then stop beating yourself up for procrastinating. It's your brain's way to tell you, just go and get distracted with other things. And while you're doing that, I'm trying to identify the cues to find that inspiration. And this is why most procrastinators, if you notice, if they have a deadline, they procrastinate, but just before the deadline, they wake up in the morning, they have this amazing energy and they can get the job done. And that did not happen that day, that morning. It happened as a result of your brain working on it in the background for a while.
Yeah. I used to, I see what you're saying applied to me. And I used to beat myself up for not procrastinating. But I now realize, and I'm starting to accept, that I'm more of an intuitive, creative feeler more than thinker, and that this is my nature. That's the thing that's really interesting here, is that a lot of books say, especially creatives, they say show up even if inspiration doesn't show up. So then the discipline and the habit building and all the rest.
Of course.
What do you think about that?
Of course, it's not one or the other. Great ideas are nothing without implementation. And implementation is nothing without an idea. So, of course, you need to show up. Of course, you need to put the effort and the sweat and the practice. But we're not always meant to do both. I think this is the point here. It's called a thinking motivator for a reason, or a thinking preference for a reason. It's two ways of, and I see this when I do these brain assessments to the executives that I work with. When they see their brain results, most of them have a high motivator towards a certain part of the brain, certain thinking, and then a lower percentage on other ones. And the immediate reaction is, oh, then I am weak at these and I need to fix them. When in fact, this is not the case. The case is you are strong at this. This is your preference. This is who you are. You are good. It's the same as I'm naturally good at football, but I don't beat myself up every single day because I'm not good at skating and swimming. We accept So why don't we accept that we can have one strong thing in our personality, and this is us? Why do you want to develop yourself in something you will hate doing for the rest of your life? That's what I never understand. Why are you putting yourself in an environment that is forcing you to develop those skills that you hate doing from 5 to 8 to 5 every day? Why aren't you doing the things that you enjoy? So it goes back to the way we're raised. We're raised to look at our weaknesses. If you're religious, you're already starting with an assumption that God is perfect and you are a human, you're not perfect. So therefore, no matter what you do in life, you will not be as perfect as the spiritual being. Then your parents do the same thing. Then you're compared with your peers at school, and now you're not good enough because there's another. You're so unlucky that there's another very much more intelligent student in your class, and this has affected the way you look at yourself for the rest of your life, and so on. So we're raised and trained to look into our weaknesses, into the parts of us that are lacking something. And I could see it. I could see it when I meet these leaders and these business owners, and I can see that the first thing is, oh, does that mean that I need to develop this? No, it doesn't mean that. It means you need to acknowledge what you are more motivated at doing and identify other people in your environment that are naturally motivated in doing the things that you're not motivated at, so that you can make a team that works together where every single one of you is feeling appreciated for bringing value. Unless you want to dedicate yourself to a full life of chasing something that you will never enjoy. That's a personal choice. You have the chance of focusing on your strength, focusing on your talents, focusing on your potential, and you give up on this to go and find those, develop yourself in those areas. I'm not against development and learning, of course. Developing yourself in an area where every day while driving to work, you're thinking, oh my God, now I'm going to work. I hate this job. And you come back from work and you go and tell your girlfriend, I'm not motivated. I'm not happy doing this job. Relationships do not work, or are not, successful relationships are not made by people who think alike. They're made by people who think differently, but know how to manage those differences. Successful teams, and I work with teams in organizations, successful teams, the most successful teams I've seen, are not made of people who think exactly alike. They're made of people who have a diversity of thinking, but there's a leadership that can bring all of this diversity together. So you don't have to develop yourself in every single way. You need to just learn how to collaborate with others. This is the key. This is why we are a social being. Look, we're looking at this beautiful scenery outside. How would all of this look if it was a single color? If you wake up every morning and everything is red, or everything is blue, how boring would life be? Isn't what makes life beautiful? This diversity of colors and right?
Yeah, that's so beautiful, especially the point about relationships and about teams, that your strength can complement someone else's weakness, and someone else's strength can complement your weakness. So then comes together. And
definitely, I would remove weakness from this sentence.
Yeah, let's.
Your lack of preference or your lack of motivation towards something. Absolutely.
Lack of motivation. That's from now on, this is my new New statement.
And you asked me about procrastination and laziness. If you search for the definition of both of them, both of them, both definitions include lack of motivation in performance. So you can do it. You are good at washing dishes. If you wash dishes, your dishes come out very clean. I'm saying this because I'm hearing someone washing dishes in the background, inspired by the environment.
The creative tendency.
Just before noise cancellation and your editing, I want to let everyone know that there is dishwashing in the background. But you're procrastinating. You don't feel like doing it. That's the motivation. And we are more motivated doing the things that align with our natural predispositions.
Okay.
This is why the concept of motivators, and I keep preaching about the concept of motivators. I think people have all the information, the resources they need if they choose to develop something. You go online and you don't know what to choose. That's how many options there are. If you choose to develop something, what you don't find is more people telling you, let's look into your motivators. This is the trigger. There are 500,000 registered tennis players around the world today, registered to clubs. Most of them are training hard from morning till evening, eating perfectly well, great facilities, great coaches. How come we only find a few in the top 10? What about the other ones? How come they're not making it to the top 10? This is where the level of talent and motivator plays a role.
That's so beautiful, because most of the time we think I need to be motivated. I need to be motivated. And I need to push myself to do it. But it's the talent and the link between talent and motivation that allows for greatness and stars and champions, as you said, to happen naturally. That's the key word, naturally.
Yes.
Because yesterday, when I was planning the vision, kind of the journey for this interview, I was trying to push to, and you said it and you were right, that I was trying to push for answers, specific frameworks, specific things people can take away to apply, but to get more motivation, more etc. But the first step is essentially the answer. It's naturally, you find your natural talent, and it will naturally drive you, motivate you. And
which was a more enjoyable exercise, today or yesterday's meeting when we were planning this?
Of course, this one,
because this is flowing.
Yeah, this is flowing, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's play a game.
Let's do it.
I'm going to start with a statement.
Okay.
And you're going to answer me. Continue. We're going to say a story. Tell a story together.
Okay, like improv.
Improv.
Okay. I love this.
I say one part. You continue.
Okay.
In the first, we're going to play it twice. The first time, you will always start your sentence with the word but.
Okay.
Okay?
That won't be hard.
All right. Okay. The weather is beautiful today.
But there are clouds blocking the sky.
But I don't think it's going to rain.
But what if it does?
But some people enjoy rain.
But what if I don't?
But when it's raining on you and it's raining on everyone else.
But what if someone didn't have an umbrella and got all wet and was going to a business conference?
I love it. Let's repeat the exercise. This time you will start every sentence. We will start every sentence with the word and.
Okay. Okay.
The weather is beautiful today.
And I feel like going for a walk.
And if you go, I think I'll go with you.
And we'll bring the dogs.
And maybe we can have a picnic.
And after the picnic, we can go for a walk to digest.
Did you notice what happened? We just substituted one word.
The whole energy changed.
The whole energy of the conversation changed.
Wow, when I'm noting this down. This has to be noted down.
What changed is I'm accepting your point of view and I'm building on it instead of I'm rejecting your point of view and I need to say something else. That's the acceptance that we're talking about. We will never, ever be able to think exactly like someone else or bring someone to think exactly like us. People who have been married for a long time perfectly understand this concept. The maximum you can get is, I'm sorry, I know
you're right.
You're right. And then there's a few days of great behavior that you're enjoying. And then another scenario, similar scenario, 2 weeks later will happen. And then you're seeing the exact same behavior. Because you cannot change a person. People will adapt their behavior in order to accommodate the requirement for a while, but they will go back to being to their comfort zone. The energy we put into trying to bring everyone else to think like us and behave like we want them to behave, if a little bit of that energy is put towards accepting the other person for and understanding the motivators of each other, then this is where great collaboration can happen.
It's obvious. It's literally so obvious right now that I see the version 1 trying to force to get value from a certain standpoint, and version 2 more accepting, following the and approach. So the but versus and. Yeah. And just this little exercise, you could feel the energy, how much the but was here, the and was here.
Yes, immediately. In a matter of seconds. And I want to challenge the audience to something, with your permission.
Yeah.
If they can go online and find two people debating on a TV show or a talk show, and one of them ever saying, you know what, I think you're right, I'm changing my opinion as of this moment. I have never seen this in my life. Hello. I have never seen this in my life. Have you ever seen on a talk show, on a TV show, someone say, I think your religion is better than mine. I'm changing as of this moment. Or your point of view. It's very rare to accept. We put too much energy into changing people's behavior.
To the final point of this conversation, before we finish off with a quick Q&A, a lot of it, I've been on a spiritual journey recently.
Yeah.
I've been on a spiritual journey. Yeah. And I felt like the lessening of the ego, the purification more of the ego, of that feeling of I'm right, this is my identity, this is the self-image of the ego. What I realized is that the more I accepted this moment through mindfulness and all the rest, the more things just flowed. It wasn't me versus you, this religion versus this religion. It was acceptance and peace within, and then it allows for a bubble of healthy creation, healthy relationships, healthy everything. And so what's your opinion on that?
I agree with you. Do you know how much we share with each other? How much DNA we share with each other as human beings?
No.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
We share 50% of our DNA with a banana and 98% of our DNA with the chimpanzee. So take a guess. How much do we share?
199.
99.7%. You and I and everyone else in the world is made of 99.7 exact same genetic component. And here's the interesting part. The other 0.3% is also made of the same genetic component, except that we're sequenced differently.
Mm.
The sequence changes our physical characteristics and different personality traits. So everything we're seeing in the world, all this effort to change people and get in conflict with people and wars and we're only 0.3% different
Mm.
and 99.7% similar.
Yeah.
It means we have more reasons to be okay with each other and collaborate with each other than to be in conflict with each other.
Mm.
What's your name? What's your name?
Okay.
Oakley.
بيحبك.
Are you part of the podcast?
He's the third guest.
Are you our guest barker? not guest speaker. Yeah. Are you our guest barker?
Oakley. I love this dog.
Hey, right. You're a beautiful doggy.
He's
You're a
always,
beautiful doggy.
he has an insane amount of energy. بينزل. He brings a rock, brings it up, throws the rock, there's a bunch of rocks here. I don't know if he's planning to build a building or, or what's the case, but yeah. So to finish off this, this is the most healing, one of the most healing, genuine, and meaningful conversations I've had.
Thank you.
The pleasure to share with you.
And I give you all the credit. You're an amazing listener. You're a great host. You ask beautiful questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amjad. Before this, you said, I want this to be more than a podcast, but a learning experience, perhaps for you. And it was exactly that. It was exactly that. So the final Q&A, we've got a couple of questions from listeners. They've asked the following. There's this question. Okay, the first one. How can you overcome laziness and rather use it as an advantage? So then
Yeah, I would say look at into why you're not motivated. And try to identify the things that motivate you, because that alone is going to remove a big part of the laziness. Laziness could have also physical reasons like fatigue and others.
Yeah.
Those are not related to motivators, but find your purpose and just let life flow.
That's beautiful.
Just a quick example. Since I started this project 3 years ago,
yeah,
I never set my alarm once. I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning. My passion wakes me up every morning. I don't need to set my alarm anymore. The moment you find the thing that you enjoy in life, you feel that you're serving, you feel like there's a purpose behind what you're doing, say goodbye to laziness.
Wow, that's so powerful. Martin Stavis asks, why do intelligent people find it really hard to find love? Which is kind of away from the topic of talent, but what's the actual psychology behind that?
Good question. And again, we're defining intelligent by abstract reasoning or analytical. It's true. It's called the skeptical or the cautious part of our brain. The more analytical you are, the smarter you are, the more cautious you are, because your brain is able to is seeking the validation, the validity. Sorry, not the validation. Is aware of dangers of consequences, of end results. So this makes them more selective in relationships. Okay. You find someone with a big heart. I used to play rugby, and I could see the difference. The more analytical players are, the more they're careful at their moves, and the more we say he has a big heart, but effectively, that link between your behaviors and your analytical mind isn't very. It's actually quite. I've seen them move to action before they analyze the consequences, and they can put themselves in danger. But then you can see that you say that they have a big heart. It's very, very courageous. The more intelligent players were more calculative in their actions.
And that relates to why they're so selective.
Yes.
Okay. We have the final question from Brian Kull, sorry. How can we make ourselves rely on discipline rather than motivation?
I'll let you answer that question.
Based on what I learned today.
Yes.
Focus on your talent first, then show up, but focusing on your strengths.
Beautiful.
So that's kind of
beautiful. It's not called discipline anymore. Discipline turns into passion, turns into dedication, and it's called perseverance and discipline. They have a negative connotation to them because you're doing them unwillingly.
Yeah.
When these perseverance and discipline are positive, they're not called this anymore. They're called passion.
Yeah, I love this.
They're called motivation. Let's turn discipline, perseverance, resilience into fulfillment and enjoyment and
passion.
Yes.
We couldn't have scripted a better ending. Sometimes when you let go of control and you flow, things just work out perfectly.
Yeah.
So this is the end of this episode. We've had the pleasure to have Dr. Antoine, who's the founder of Meet Yourself, who I believe is already revolutionizing, but is gonna revolutionize even more the entire system of what it means to actually do something you love. And I look forward to seeing it implemented in schools.
Thank you.
Like we said, and I'm gonna put all the links below so you can reach Dr. Antoine. And thank you for investing your time to find your passions.
Yeah.
I think that's important to say because we can keep working and not pause to realize, am I working on the right thing? And I hope this podcast for me, the goal of this podcast is to help create happier, high performers.
Yeah.
So this is the objective. And every week we have a new guest, a new expert who comes in and helps us do that. I will integrate, before the podcast, we talked about how this podcast can be put using my experience, my story. So I want to say it right now. So
okay.
Right away, I'm going to try more and more to make the podcast my story and trying to explain or understand and get answers from experts on my life experiences. And through that, you'll be able to see my transformation, my healing, and perhaps this could also help you too. And I'm a person that values a lot truth. And so I will always come with the truth and say it as it is and be vulnerable. And if you enjoy it, then you enjoy it.
Yeah. You're a good man.
Thank you so much, Antoine. And it means a lot. Like for me, this wasn't just a podcast with 3 cameras and all the rest. It was a healing experience for real.
Thank you. I enjoyed this conversation a lot.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
This is it. Thank you so much. Ciao.